I've got my drink. About to give you the longest yeah boy ever. In 2018, it was announced that Netflix had signed a multi-year deal with the C.S. Lewis Company to adapt the Chronicles of Narnia into a movie series. While there aren't many details, it's clear that Greta Gerwig is going to be the producer of at least a few of the films, and that's the feminist Greta, not the autistic one. I can understand why you would get those two confused. You would probably expect that somebody who's as big of a fan of the Chronicles of Narnia as I am would be excited to see these books brought to the big screen, but I think the only words that I could describe what I'm feeling right now would be terror and or spit. Fairy, don't eat grass. Why, you ask? Well, it's because of the last several decades of the sheer trollop and or balderdash that Hollywood has been literally crapping out of their poop chutes. Sorry for the foul language, Grandma. Beloved TV shows, video games, and movies have been smeared into unrecognizable piles of stinky and or doo-doo due to people who don't know anything about or care for the original source material. Sorry, I bumped to the mic when I did that. I got a little bit overexcited. Examples? Sure, I got plenty. Ever heard of The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, Rebels, The Book of Boba Fett, The Acolyte? Did you see what they did to Dragon Age? They made it a group therapy session.
So, I'm non-binary.
A video game about knights and mages and the Enclave and dragons and how old they are, hence the name. Dragon Age Inquisition was about magic and intrigue, and Dragon Age The Veilguard was about making sure nobody's feelings got hurt.
Actually, Tosh uses them for themselves now.
They asked us to let folks know, so now you do.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you for telling me.
Basically, these Hollywood executives are taking IPs that we know and love and changing them to fit the message that appeals to the obnoxiously loud minority.
Intellectual property, a work or invention that is the result of creativity, such as a manuscript or a design, to which one has rights and for which one may apply for a patent, copyright, trademark, etc.
Those darn they-thems with their blue-green hair, also known as furries. The Chronicles of Narnia series means a lot to me, so I think it's important that somebody who really cares about this series speaks up and explains what's actually wanted from movies based on these books. In the original 2 versions of the script for this video, I went over each of the books in some level of detail, but I realized that it was just like really boring. So for this video, I just want to talk about the 3 movies released by Disney: The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Before we get any farther, however, I should probably explain to you why my opinion is worth listening to, and I would say that the main reason is because I know these books really well. I've probably been through the entire series more than 50 times. As a kid, I would go through the series multiple times in a year, and I could probably regurgitate large swaths of the books to you just from memory. On top of that, I've read many of Lewis's other works, including Mere Christianity, The Great Divorce, and The Screwtape Letters, which are 3 of some of my favorite books of all time. In short, I can confidently say that I understand the core message of these books. Lewis is by far the author with the most impact on my life, aside from the Bible and its myriad of authors. Shout out to the Apostle Paul. And I think Lewis had a perspective on life that pretty much anybody can benefit from. I have never read any work from any other author that my heart understands better than my head, and I really do think that if you read his work, especially the Chronicles of Narnia, you will come away better for it.
Okay, let's go.
I'm moving, so I'm no longer in the sun. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe follows the story of the 4 Pevensey children: Peter, the Chad, Susan, the hot one, Edmund, the slithery little snake, and Lucy, who's effectively the teacher's pet. At the start of this book, World War II is in full effect, so the children have to leave London to stay in the country due to the air raids from that racist mustache man, whose art was surprisingly pretty good. Just look at this painting. Lucy discovers this wardrobe that takes her to another world, and after some stuff goes on, the other 3 children join her, and they find out that Narnia is currently a land ruled by a witch who makes it always winter. Eventually, they meet up with Aslan, and he tells them that he's going to help them defeat the White Witch and make them kings and queens of Narnia. She's called the White Witch, incidentally, because she's not black. Disney, so called because the D looks like a G, released a film based on this book back in 2005, and the film is actually pretty good. It stays fairly true to the story beats of the original story. However, there are some things that they changed and some things that they did not so well that I want to touch on. First off, and this is kind of a theme, at least for the first 2 movies, Peter's a real jerk to Edmund, and the reason why this matters is because Edmund's redemption arc in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is one of the main stories, and his reasonings for why he acted the way that he did matter to the context of what Aslan does for him later on in the book. But Peter's behavior sort of gives Edmund an excuse to act up, and then Edmund's like, You think you'll die, but you'll not! And that basically entirely devalues Aslan's forgiveness later on in the story. And then, and I'm sort of going out of order here, but when Lucy first stumbles into Narnia, she's like not even remotely surprised or afraid, and I don't think that this is realistic in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, this is a story about talking animals and stuff, but I don't think that's a realistic expectation. Tumnus comes walking out of the woods, nipples fully exposed. The only thing he's wearing is a scarf, and her reaction is just kind of like, oh my goodness, I'm British. I eat yogurt. There is a point where Peter, Susan, and Lucy are running from the witch, and they hide in this little grovel. They think the witch is gonna get them, and then Mr. Beaver, does a little bit of scouting, and turns out it wasn't the witch all along, it was Father Christmas. And in the book, this scene is really impactful because it shows the fact that the witch's magic for winter is breaking and that it's finally Christmas. In the movie, he's just some chubby white dude in red leather. They sort of took all the charm and magic out of this moment, and they just sort of made Father Christmas look like one of those guys that's like a biker dude, and he's supposed to look all hard, but he really just has like a big heart for kids. That's how they did this. Doesn't even really look like Santa. He kind of looks like one of those guys that wears like a leather Harley vest to church. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. And a short note here, the bit that the screenwriters added in of the river melting, if you watch the movie, just think a second to realize that that whole scene had no point. There was literally no driving factor, there was no beginning, middle, and end. It was just they got to a river, the wolves were around them, then the river melted, and that was it. That was done. That was just totally pointless scene, not in the book at all. What a waste of screen time that could have been allocated to other things that actually happened. Are you good? What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? And finally, and most egregiously, these movies, all 3 of them, treat Aslan as if he's just some sort of anthropomorphic lion man instead of the literal creator of the universe. I dripped a bit. Dripped a bit with piss. Throughout all of these movies, he's sort of treated as this mystical and powerful paladin who can cast some serious buffs instead of being the representation of Jesus as he is in the books. Aslan is supposed to be this sort of mystical, powerful, intense character that is hard to engage with because you always feel like you're lacking in something when you interact with him. And instead, he's just a lion that can speak words. They kind of treat him like he's some sort of scary uncle. Ultimately, this book is practically written for the big screen. It's got so much adventure and intrigue, and the characters are so well written. They just basically need to take the script from the book and put it into the movies, and they have the whole thing written out for them, but we'll come back to that later. I'm holding the mic now because it was dragging my shirt down and it felt gay. All right, so Prince Caspian. Now, of all the books in this series, this is the one that I care the least about, and it's not because it's a bad book, but I always found myself identifying with it the least of all the books in the series. It's still about the 4 Pevensies, but Aslan calls them back into Narnia to help put the titular character, literally always wanted to say that, the titular character Caspian defeat his usurping Uncle Murad. So Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy are whisked away into Narnia. This time, instead of via a wardrobe, they're taken via a train, and that's because C.S. Lewis would be copying J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter, which would be published 46 years after the writing of Prince Caspian. The joke here is that he copied her, but really, like, he wrote his book before her. It's not that funny, but I've just left it in my script, and so I've just left it in my script. Once they arrive in Narnia, they meet a dwarf, not to be confused with a midget or a little person, known as the DLF, and he helps bring them to Prince Caspian. Much of this book is spent analyzing who does and doesn't still believe in Aslan, as he hasn't been seen in Narnia for some thousands of years, and it really places an importance on perseverance and humility. The Disney movie, based on this book that released in 2008, is how the French say, "not the very good." That's Italian, that's not even French. They made some serious character changes from the book, basically changing all the personality traits for all of the major characters in the movies, and they also made some really strange story beat changes that are just frankly terrible, and I really, really, really don't like this movie. This movie and I have some beef, so here's tea. Once again, in this movie, Peter is an ass. And before I get any farther, I just want to go on a quick tangent and say that if C.S. Lewis considered the words damn, hell, and ass to be perfectly appropriate to use in conversation and in his books, I think we should consider them to be okay as well. So I am officially striking damn, hell, and ass from the curse word book. You are now free to use those at any time, even if your mommy doesn't like it. Anyways, Peter's an ass. The movie starts off with some other British dude bumping into him, and they're both like, "Oi, oi." And then they fight, and Peter's siblings are like, "Why didn't you just say sorry?" And he's like, "I shouldn't have to." He's petulant and childish and bossy and irritable. He's supposed to be like the Chad of this series, but instead he just makes me the sad of this series. Okay, now, let me be clear. Peter was not in competition with Caspian in the book. Aslan calls the Pevensies into Narnia to help put Caspian on the throne, but the entirety of this movie, Peter and Caspian are having like a penis measuring contest. And I'm sorry to be vulgar, but that's really what it amounts to. Oh, hey. That whole story arc actively pisses me off because Peter is supposed to be an inspiration. He's not supposed to be a warning. And dude, this movie constantly tries to make magic feel believable. This isn't Harry Potter. This isn't an everyday thing. We're watching this movie from the perspective of the Pevensies, and even though they were in Narnia before, they're still not used to the everyday magic type of meme. So this is supposed to be interesting and engaging, but every time Disney has the opportunity to make something feel magical, they just make it feel mundane. This movie has a problem that a lot of movies that came out around the same time did, where they try to make everything like slow-mo and epic. Movies like Twilight or Sex and the City. Instead of letting the cool factor speak for itself, like Peter Jackson did with The Lord of the Rings. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about once you watch this movie, but also don't watch this movie. It seriously is not worth your time. Side note, do you have any idea how obscenely stacked 2008 was for good movies? The Dark Knight, Iron Man, Taken, WALL-E, Kung Fu Panda, Wanted, Quantum of Solace, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Okay, maybe not that last one. Caspian, whose accent actually changes multiple times during this movie if you pay attention, doesn't agree to call up the White Witch at the end of the movie. When you watch it, you'll sort of get the picture that he's like, oh, Aslan's not coming, so I guess we call up the White Witch. In the book, he never agrees to this, ever. The Caspian in the book was like, that's crazy. She held Narnia under ice and snow for 1,000 years. Why would we call her up instead of just continuing to fight the current tyrant we're currently dealing with? In the movie, he's like, I don't know, I guess. But what I will say about this scene is that the way that the atmosphere is, and the way that Aslan's howl looks, and the way that the werewolf and the hag look, dude, it's so good. This is like the best part of the movie, and it's not because the scene is acted out super well or whatever. I mean, it is, but that's not the point. It's just the way that they translated the book into the movie. If they had just done the entire series like this, it would have been incredible. They stuck to it just unbelievably well. The wolf is wearing this cowl, and the hag is like sort of like, she's sort of, it's so good. It's so good. I'm gonna put this right here because holding it is kind of distracting. It looks gay, but we're gonna roll with it. Another thing about this movie that just sucks and I hate it is the kiss between Caspian and Susan at the end. Man, it just pulls my shirt down. All right, I guess I'm holding it. Can I get a hee-hee hot dog? Fairy, you wanna say something? Fairy, come here. You wanna say something in the video? Come here. Can you sit? Hey, come here, sit. Can you say something? You heard it here first, folks. Caspian and Susan's kiss at the end of this movie, dude, there's bugs freaking everywhere. It pisses me off. It sucks and it's gay and I hate it. It didn't happen in the book. There was no romance in the book. There's nothing sexual about the book. It didn't happen. It's stupid and it's gay and I hate it. Take it out, remove it, kill it with fire. Dumb, spit, evil, bad, dumb. However, the Call by Regina Spektor, which is the song that starts playing towards the end of the movie, into the credits or whatever, which actually was written for this movie, which is a fun fact I didn't know, is actually a really great song, and even though it behind a moment that is stupid and that I hate, the song is actually really good and is like pure 2008 cinema. It's good. I can admit it's good. And I think that really breaks down what my major issue is with this movie, and that is it lacks soul, it lacks character, it lacks all of the things that we love about the original book, because their whole thing was to just make everything look cool instead of sticking with the actual meaningful story from the original source material. It's difficult to convince your audience to care about something when you don't care about it yourself. All right, so Voyage of the Dawn Treader. This book is epic. It really is. It's so good. This book is so good. It's basically like Sea of Thieves. Not spit in your mouth. Did you send Camden the video so he can find out that you're gay with him? Oh my word, our ships. What?
Okay, give me a second.
What the hell is happening to our ship?
What the fuck?
Except instead of a bunch of fat tattooed pirates singing shanties and drinking grog, it's a bunch of dudes looking for a bunch of other dudes in the end of the world, and it's awesome. It's such a good book. Okay. Floppy ears. Another reason why I think this is one of my favorite books in the series is because it introduces my favorite character, Eustace Clarence Scrubb. And he almost deserved it. Hey, yeah, so basically, Edmund, Lucy, and Eustace are pulled out of our world into Narnia via a painting of a ship, and it's kind of awesome. They meet up with Caspian, and he sort of explains to them why he's on a voyage. Basically, before Caspian became king, he asked Aslan's permission to swear that he would go after and find 7 lords that his uncle Miraz had effectively banished from the kingdom. And Aslan agrees that he should do this, so he sets out on the Dawn Treader, which is the boat, which is why the name of the book, and he sets out to find the lost 7 lords. This book really has some incredible moments. It's probably the most action-packed book of the 7, which is partially why this movie based on this book is both the best movie of the 3 and the worst movie of the 3. There's so much that this movie does well, and there's so much that it does so poorly. First off, I want to say that the actor that they chose to play Eustace, Will Poulter, it's the actor with the eyebrows.
I'll Google the actor with the eyebrows. It's so funny that it's always this MF that pops up.
They could not have chosen a better actor for this role. He's incredible, and I don't think there's anybody who could have intimated who Eustace is as a person as well as Will Poulter did in this movie. Eustace, of all the protagonists in all of this series, probably has the most personal growth. He starts off as this like insufferable know-it-all idiot who only thinks about himself, and just by the end of this book, he's more open-minded, more caring, and he spends more time trying to take care of other people instead of worrying about how things are going to affect him. And the scene, like I mentioned earlier, where the children enter Narnia through the painting, I don't know how they managed to capture the magic of this moment. In the book, it sounds cool, but somehow in the movie, they made it look and feel cooler than it even sounds in the books, and it's amazing, it's brilliant, it's perfect, so good, so good. We love that from you, chat. I'm probably gonna cut that out. And that's the thing, the movie starts off so well, but as soon as they get to the Seven Isles, it starts deviating from the original story, and that's when it gets really poopy. Airplane into tower, I'm not leaving that in. So in the book, when Caspian is crowned king, he asks Aslan permission to swear that he will go after the Seven Lords that his uncle banished to find them, as he believes this is the honorable thing to do. In the movie, I don't remember whether it's ever explained why he's out there, but when they get to the Seven Isles, there's this green mist that comes up and like eats these people on boats, and so he has to find the Seven Lords because they have the special swords that he would use to defeat the green mist. It's dumb.
I mean, when I say that out loud, it's like the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
In the book, there is scary mist. It's not green, but in the book there is scary mist, but the characters of the book aren't able to defeat it without Aslan's help. He shows up, banishes the mist, they rescue one of the Seven Lords, and it's like this really incredible moment of them being saved even though they thought they were lost. And in the movie, they do it from their own power. It just cheapens it. So, like I said, in the book, Caspian is going on this voyage to find the banished Seven Lords, and he does this because he believes it's the honorable thing to do. In the movie, the reason why he has to find them all is because otherwise the scary green mist will eat everybody. Like, even saying that, it sounds like I'm sort of dumbing it down or whatever, but that is literally what how the movie plays out. That's legitimately how it sounds. And then in the book, Reepicheep wants to sail to the end of the world because of like a spell that a dryad or a naiad cast over him when he was a baby. In the movie, they go to the end of the world because they need to find the last 3 swords that will help them defeat the scary green mist, which also means that they defeat the scary green mist by themselves instead of with the help of Aslan, and it cheapens the overall story. Just a random note, there's this theme that plays while you're watching the movie, and it sounds a lot like the Camino theme from Attack of the Clones. I'll play samples of them here. Well, maybe I can't do that because I'll get copyright striked. I may or may not, who knows? I'll put pictures of the 2 songs on screen, that way you can look it up yourself and see the comparison I made. All right, I'm gonna go on a little tangent here, but in the books, everybody lands at this island to refuel and restock their ship. Eustace sneaks off to avoid having to do any labor, goes up a hill, finds a dragon's cave, falls asleep inside of it, but doesn't know, like everyone should know, that dragon's gold is magic, and wakes up as a dragon himself. He wakes up as a dragon. Now, I realize nobody else cares about this. I care about this, and this is my video, so I'm gonna talk about it. But he wakes up as a dragon. A dragon has 2 wings and 4 legs, front and back, sort of like a human, except they walk on all of them. Think about any TV show or movie that you've seen dragons in. How many of them have 4 feet and 2 wings? Think about it, and you'll realize that so many movies you've seen, or TV shows or whatever, they have 2 wings and 2 feet. That's not a dragon, that's a wyvern. And the reason why it matters is because if you're gonna make a fantasy series, you might as well know the creatures that you're representing. The Witcher, Game of Thrones. A dragon has 4 appendages plus 2 wings, so 6 in total, not including their penis. He comes out as a gold dragon. They did this correctly in the movies, by the way. I may have missed that. He did this correctly. Okay, we're gonna skip over a bunch of the stuff in the middle of this movie and skip right to the very end. This movie irritates me because they're still treating Aslan as if he's just some guy. And for this story, this particularly matters because people don't just travel to the end of the universe risking their lives for just some dude. They might do it if they were, obeying the creator of the universe or whatever, but they wouldn't go there just for some guy. They did, however, handle Aslan's country really well. The 3 children, Edmund, Lucy, and Eustace, they get on a boat with Reepicheep and they sort of paddle their way to this last sandbar before Aslan's country begins. And there's this shot that I think about all the time of these waves coming up to prevent you from seeing what's over there. But if you look real closely, you can just sort of see like a haze of land, and it's so good. The swelling of the music, the visuals of the water. It's so, so good. They left a sense of mystery and a sense of discovery there, and all I can say is props to the director for this because it is perfect. It gives me the chills every time I see it. However, it wasn't perfect at the end because the way that the children's time in Narnia ends is so... it's just off. In the books, they arrive at the end. Aslan tells Edmund and Lucy that they can no longer return to Narnia. He says they had their time and they need to get to know him in their own world. In the book, it's this heartfelt moment where Lucy and Edmund know that they're never coming back to Narnia, which is their favorite place to be because Aslan's there. In the movie, he basically goes, yeah, chat, never coming back. So yo, I hate it. It takes all the mystery, all the wonder out of it, and instead just makes it sort of like a transactional thing where they did the thing he wanted them to do, and so they've done the things he wanted them to do, and now they're no longer welcome. That's how it feels. They take all the mystery, the magic, and the charm from this moment, and they sort of just make it unimportant and undignified. It's once you read the book, it's really disappointing to see in the movie. At least it was for me. However, huge roller coaster at the end of the movie for me, but at the very end, and the children end up back in Eustace's room, and the water's slowly fading from the room, but the children are completely dry, this happens.
Eustace! Eustace! What are you doing up there? Jill Holmes dropped in for a visit.
It's a little taste, like a bittersweet taste of what's to come, and it's magic. I'm getting goosebumps on my arm just thinking about it. It's so, so good. And that's the thing, isn't it? Magic. That's what you come to these books and these movies for. You want to see magic. And I'm not just talking about like Harry Potter, people whipping around their wands and making books fly off the shelves and stuff. I'm talking about magic that moves you. Throughout all of these movies, we see hints, we see small glimpses of something that means something to us. And it's very disappointing that so much of the magic that we're looking for is just not present in these movies. As I mentioned earlier, the original 2 scripts for this video were going through each of the books in detail, and I unfortunately just don't have the skill to write or the words to describe how incredible and impactful and important these books are to me. The Magician's Nephew has this really touching moment where Aslan gives Diggory an apple that he's supposed to give to his mother to heal her of this illness that she's had. It's sort of indicated that she's sick because she posts way too much on Facebook.
What I give you now will bring joy. It will not in your world give endless life, but it will heal. Go, pluck her an apple from the tree. For a second, Diggory could hardly understand. It was as if the whole world had turned inside out and upside down. And then, like someone in a dream, he was walking across to the tree, and the king and queen were cheering him, and all the creatures were cheering too. He plucked the apple and put it in his pocket. Then he came back to Aslan. Please, he said, may we go home now? He had forgotten to say thank you, but he meant it, and Aslan understood.
In The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, there's this remarkable imagery of Aslan saving and then rebuking and forgiving Edmund.
There is no need to tell you, and no one ever heard, what Aslan was saying. But it was a conversation which Edmund never forgot. As the others drew nearer, Aslan turned to meet them, bringing Edmund with him. Here is your brother, he said. And there is no need to talk to him about what is past.
In The Horse and His Boy, there's this scene where Shasta, or Kor, gets lost in the mountains and he thinks he's alone, but as soon as he discovers he isn't, this happens.
The High King above all kings stooped toward him. Its mane, and some strange and solemn perfume that hung about the mane, was all round him, It touched his forehead with its tongue. He lifted his face, and their eyes met. Then instantly, the pale brightness of the mist and the fiery brightness of the lion rolled themselves together into a swirling glory and gathered themselves up and disappeared. He was alone with the horse on a grassy hillside under a blue sky, and there were birds singing.
That imagery is always somewhere at the back of my mind. I often find myself thinking of that portrayal of Aslan in church, and I kind of imagine that that's what it's going to be like to meet Jesus for the first time, but I guess we'll all have to find that out for ourselves. Prince Caspian's most impactful moment comes from when the four children and the DLF finally meet Aslan face to face. Throughout the first half of the book, it's sort of shown that some people are acting out of selflessness with a desire to do what's right and to be obedient, whereas some of the other characters have acted selfishly.
"Oh, Aslan," said King Peter, dropping on one knee and raising the lion's heavy paw to his face. "I'm so glad, and I'm so sorry. I've been leading them wrong ever since we started, and especially yesterday morning." "My dear son," said Aslan. Then he turned and welcomed Edmund. "Well done," were his words. Then, after an awful pause, the deep voice said, "Susan." Susan made no answer, but the others thought she was crying. "You have listened to fears, child," said Aslan. "Come, let me breathe on you. Forget them. Are you brave again?" "A little, Aslan," said Susan.
The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, as I mentioned earlier, is one of my favorite books, and it includes Eustace, and one of the reasons why it's my favorite books is because it shows his transition from the dragon that I mentioned earlier back into being a boy. A real boy! And the scene that depicts this change is one of my favorites in the entire series.
"I think you've seen Aslan," said Edmund. "Aslan?" said Eustace. "I've heard that name mentioned several times since we joined the Dawn Treader, and I felt, well, I don't know what. I hated it. But I was hating everything then. And, by the way, I'd like to apologize. I'm afraid I've been pretty beastly." "That's all right," said Edmund. "Between ourselves, you haven't been as bad as I was on my first trip to Narnia. You were only an ass, but I was a traitor." "Well, don't tell me about it then," said Eustace. "But who is Aslan? Do you know him?" "Well, he knows me," said Edmund. "He is the great lion, the son of the Emperor over sea, who saved me and saved Narnia. We've all seen him. Lucy sees him most often, and it may be Aslan's country we are sailing to."
The Silver Chair at the very end of the book has this moment where our heroes, Eustace, Jill, and Puddleglum, finally have their final face-off with the Lady of the Green Kirtle, and this happens.
"Suppose we have only dreamed or made up all those things, trees and grass and sun and moon and stars and Aslan himself. Suppose we have. Then all I can say is that, in that case, the made-up things seem a good deal more important than the real ones. Suppose this black pit of a kingdom of yours is the only world. Well, it strikes me as a pretty poor one. And that's the funny thing when you come to think of it. We're just babies making up a game, if you're right. But 4 babies playing a game can make a play world which licks your real world hollow. That's why I'm going to stand by the play world. I'm on Aslan's side, even if there isn't any Aslan to lead it. I'm going to live as like a Narnian as I can, even if there isn't any Narnia. So thanking you kindly for your supper, if these 2 gentlemen and the young lady are ready, we're leaving your court at once and setting out into the dark to spend our lives looking for the overland. Not that our lives will be very long, I should think, but that's a small loss if the world's as dull a place as you say."
And finally, there's this scene between Aslan and Imith in the last battle.
"So I went over much grass and many flowers, and among all kinds of wholesome and delectable trees, till lo, In a narrow place between two rocks there came to meet me a great lion. The speed of him was like the ostrich, and his size was an elephant's. His hair was like pure gold, and the brightness of his eyes like gold that is liquid in the furnace. He was more terrible than the flaming mountain of Lagur, and in beauty he surpassed all that is in the world, even as the rose in bloom surpasses the dust in the desert. Then I fell at his feet and thought, surely this is the hour of death, for the lion, who is worthy of all honor, will know that I have served Tash all my days, and not him. Nevertheless, it is better to see the lion and die than to be Tisroc of the world and live and not to have seen him. But the glorious one bent down his golden head and touched my forehead with his tongue and said, Son, thou art welcome.
And I think all of these bits of each story highlight a main point. They're all about Aslan. He is the main focus, the main driving factor for all of the stories and all the characters in all of these books. Anyone who looks at him and gets to know him, it changes them. And there goes my sword. One of my main complaints about the Disney films, the Gisney films, was that they always were sort of treating Aslan as if he was just some guy and just some dude. And I really believe that this is part of the reason why those films didn't do so hot in theaters, is because they never evoked the same or indeed any emotion as the original books do. Netflix, and I'm trying to be as serious as I can here, you cannot have Narnia without Aslan. The two are inseparable. You can't take this messianic character out. You can't change him or adapt him or adjust him to be more digestible. If you do, your movies will flop. I guarantee it. Aslan is the reason why people read these books. He's the reason why people reread and re-reread these books. He's the reason why people return to them year after year like I do. His representation of Jesus is genuinely life-changing, and if you try to adapt or change this, it will ruin the overall story. There is no Narnia without Aslan. Also, for no particular reason, I just feel like it's worth mentioning, Aslan is a male character. So I'm just trying to head off any like gender swapping or whatever. He's referred to as he every time in all of the books. So, male character. Aslan's a he. He's a dude. Deep voice, growly, a guy. It's a guy. No, I can definitely assure you it is not. In an interview with Deadline, Amy Pascal said the following. She's one of the producers for the Chronicles of Narnia movies. She said that the upcoming movie will be, quote, a very new take on Narnia. It's all about rock and roll, end quote. No, I can definitely assure you it's not. In an article by Screen Rant, Gerwig was lauded with the following quote. With Little Women, Gerwig showed she could honor the source material and tell a story through a new lens. I haven't watched that movie, but the quote, tell it through a new lens, end quote, has me worried. And now that I'm thinking about it, they're probably gonna make Aslan one of the gays. I hope they don't do that, but they might. I know they'll think about it. So that was a ton of information. What the hell is anybody supposed to do with it? Well, I intentionally left out a ton of information because I want you to read the books for yourself. I also didn't give much perspective on what the new directors could do with each movie, and here's why. It's right there. The direction is right there. It's in the book. You can get the free books on PDFs online. You can have access to the entirety of the books. You can Control F search function the book. There's no need to do anything other than what's in the book. You will do exactly what's in the book. I'm leaning forward so you know this is serious. I know you might say something like, they can't do everything in the movie that they did in the book, and yeah, duh, but that's not the point that you think it is. I know you might say the directors need to have some creative license or freedom, but no, The directors aren't working with new IP with lots of creative license. They are working with an established series that already has a dedicated fan base, plenty of world building, and enough descriptive language to make incredible movies worth watching. Their main problem will be what to keep in from the original source material, not what to add to supplement the story. Now, Sydney Watson, she made great videos recently about the race swapping going on in the live action How to Train Your Dragon, and I just wanted to include a few clips of what she says, because she says it better than I probably ever could.
If you are recreating something that already exists with pre-established characters and a pre-established storyline, and you randomly decide to take leave of those factors, you're not doing it because the world is fantasy and you suddenly have greater creativity available to you. You're doing it for activism points.
1000% yes.
The creators are merely adapting one film to another. These characters are not theirs to change and reinvent. If the people creating this film so desired to do their own thing, then they should make a new movie, not attempt to adapt an existing one.
1000% yes.
I am of the opinion that if you are recreating someone that already exists, a character that already exists, then the objective is to stay as true to that character's original form as possible, which means casting people who actually look like the character.
1000% yes! George R.R. Martin, the creator of the Game of Thrones series, had this to say, quote, "The book is the book, and the film is the film, they will tell you as if they were saying something profound. Then they make the story their own. They never make it better, though. 999 times out of 1,000, they make it worse." And although I'm no George R.R. Martin fan, I couldn't agree with this take more. And I know you can't have everything in the movie that was in the book. Duh, like I said earlier, that's not the point that you think it is. But directors never stop with cutting out the stuff that they can't keep in. They always add something of their own message, of their own content, and inevitably they make it worse. Every time. I've never seen it not happen. All I'm saying is that the directors need to stick to the damn script, which is the literal, actual, physical book. I will send you some. I will send you the link to the PDF. It's free. They're old enough that there's no copyright. You can get them anywhere. Remember the rock and roll bit we talked about earlier? Yeah, don't do that. Just don't muck this up. And I said muck, but replace the M with a, you get it. Don't change the different characters to different races for inclusivity. Don't remove Aslan as a Jesus figure to make the stories more approachable. Don't change any of the divisive characters or any of the divisive actions of any of these characters to make the stories more digestible. Don't change the story beats to make the stories simpler to understand. I saw a comment about the problematic ending that Susan has in the original series. Don't touch that, it's important. Another narrative I see a lot lately especially is how people watch media and they don't see themselves in it. You don't need to see yourself perfectly represented in the media you consume. Just because Luke Skywalker or Bruce Wayne or Harry Potter from Harry Potter don't have blonde curly hair, glasses, and a forehead the size of a billboard doesn't mean I can't see pieces of myself in their stories. That whole idea and concept is genuinely the most retarded concept I've ever had the displeasure of being exposed to. And don't, for the love of all that's good and holy in this world, make it gay. We don't want any more gays. Gays are already way overrepresented in modern day media. We don't need any more of them, and it wouldn't change or add anything to these stories. And not to mention they're really super gay. Another thing I want to point out is that Lewis's works aren't sexy. Not that these movies don't have some beautiful, engaging, or entertaining imagery, but there is no sex appeal in the entire series. One of the major things that Disney got wrong was the kiss at the end of Prince Caspian. There was this uncomfortable level of tension between Susan and Caspian that is found nowhere in the entirety of the books. None of Lewis's characters make sexual jokes, none of them are described to any level of sexuality, none of them are talked about in a way that has anything to do with procreation or with sex appeal. Everything in his books is pure, it's honest and upright, and I believe our culture has a severe lack of media with these values. Sex genuinely could be taken out of all forms of media and we would all be better for it. Prove me wrong, you won't be able to. I think at this point, the real question you should be asking is, why should you care? And I think it's important to recognize that these stories had huge cultural impact when they released. These stories really matter because they tell us something about ourselves that we may not have already known. Changing these stories in any significant way will absolutely damage the original stories and messages that Lewis was trying to convey all of those years ago. If you're going to change the important aspects of these books, you might as well call it something else and have a different story in its entirety. Only nobody would do that, would they? Hollywood has recently discovered that it's way easier to take an established title that people love and to ruin it than to come up with new IPs and ideas that nobody wants to go see. I'm guessing that they do this because they Instead, it's easier for them to ruin something that we love already because at least we'll pay to go see it, hoping and praying that they didn't destroy something we really care about. An important note to make here is that maybe Hollywood should try making their own original IPs with their original stories and original messaging that would give them the creative license and the freedom to tell the stories that they believe people want to watch. I highly doubt anybody's gonna watch that garbage, but that would be an avenue for you to tell the stories that you think people ought to hear. I believe what it really comes down to is respect. The progressive left is so willing to lecture everybody about respect. They want to shove down every action that they've ever taken in their entire lives down our throats, and they demand that you respect them for it. But as soon as somebody who taught a message or gave a message that was counter to their beliefs, they adapt or change it entirely to give off the message that they believe people want to hear or they think is important. C.S. Lewis is one of the most famous authors of the last 100 years with one of the most respected fantasy series ever written, and I almost guarantee you that the movies based on these books will in effect just be pissing on his grave. You're making these movies because you were inspired by the magic held in the original stories, but then you remove that magic, and so you're leaving your viewer with an empty feeling wondering why the movie was ever made. That's the magic of the Chronicles of Narnia. It takes the things that we deem to be dull and commonplace and reminds us of their importance. When you change that, when you remove the magic, then what's the point? I think the too long didn't read version of the script, also known as the TLDR, is show versus tell. Lewis had an incredible way of showing you the world around you, showing you something about yourself, which gives you the opportunity of agency, gives you the opportunity to discover something for yourself. Modern day Hollywood prefers the tell version. They prefer to tell you what you're seeing, to tell you what to think, to tell you how to feel. And it removes all the agency and leaves less of an impact because you're just receiving information instead of figuring it out for yourself. Lewis had a way of writing that put a perspective on your own heart and your own thoughts, and it was written in such a way that sort of shows you the world around you, leaving you agency to discover something for yourself. Magic is in the discovery, not in the hearing. Okay, sit. Good boy. Hey, don't you push the mic. Look more. Buddy, I'm trying to do something and you're making it more difficult than it would be if you weren't here. Hold on, I'll pet you in a second. So demanding. Give me a second. Give me a second. Hey. Can you just be nice to me for once instead of just demanding attention? Come here. Sit so the camera can see your pretty face. First off, I want to apologize for the sound of my voice. I've been sick for going on a week now. I got the sickness that apparently everybody in the state of Iowa, I don't know if anywhere else, but I got it. And I thought I was getting better, and then celebrated 2 separate Christmases where I had to talk a lot, and now my voice doesn't want to cooperate, but I literally am I'm filming this 2 days before this video is going to release, so I have to do this now. So if you're seeing this right now, that means that my Chronicles of Narnia project is done. That's a huge weight off my shoulders, and I'm very excited to hear what people have to say about it once they've made it to this point in the video. So this has been one hell of a project. I started writing the script for this video in January of this year, 2025. I'm kind of dating the video, but I started writing it in January of this year. And it is December December 29th. So we're already almost into 2026, and I'm just now finishing it. At the end of the day, if this video convinces one person to read the Chronicles of Narnia, it'll have all been worth it. I already have ideas for some other video essays, but we'll see if those actually end up going anywhere. This is Akamaru, by the way. He's a Grey Pyrenees who is desperate for attention no matter how much of it he gets. So he acts like he's starved. Are you starved of attention? Huh? Right off the bat, I want to give a huge shout out to a YouTuber called Nakey Jakey. Jakey, I doubt if you'll ever see this video, but I want to say that your work is like the primary inspiration for this video, and especially your latest video titled Nakey Jakey is Outdated. Right at the very end of that video, he has this concept that he discusses, and I'm paraphrasing here, but the reason why he started his channel and made his content was the idea like, hey, I wonder if I could do that. And that's literally what this video is. The video that you're watching right now, that's what this is. It's me wondering, hey, I wonder if I can do that. Press like and subscribe. Akamaru says for you to do that. That wasn't from me. I'm just repeating to you what he said. Again, Jakey, I doubt if you'll ever see this, but I just want to say that your work has been a huge inspiration to me. Your work is incredible. You're one of the all-time greats, and I can't wait to see your next project when it comes out in the next 8 to 12 months, which, by the way, that delay makes so much more sense now, considering that this project has taken me basically a year, 11 months to complete. This S word is hard, and the S word in this case is stuff. This is hard, it's difficult. I also have a dedication for this video, which I know is weird, but my wife's grandmother, Lois, passed away this summer. And in a way, all of the events that happened around the time of her passing really spurred me on to complete this project. Lois loved Jesus, and she dedicated a lot of her life, the entirety of her life, to sharing his love with other people. And in my own way, I wanted to contribute to her work. If you get nothing else from this video, I want you to understand that the creator of the universe, oh, he's back. The creator of the universe is so incredible that he gave us people like C.S. Lewis to make the ideas of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection more approachable. And I'm very grateful, and all I can tell you is that God loves you and he wants you to draw near to him. Akamaru, sit, you're taking up too much of the camera. They can't see me past your big head, and you're not the star of the show. This is my video. You didn't spend a year editing this. You spent a year trying to get my attention and prevent me from editing this. So honestly, I made this video despite your best efforts, you furry. I'm thinking of some mean things to say, but I won't say them on camera. He's still a baby just yet. He doesn't know any better. Lastly, to my darling wife, Andrea, I spent the better part of this year writing and reading and going to different locations to film different parts and editing this video for so many hours, and I feel like that should be a good enough indication to you to explain to you how important these books are to me. You need to read these books. I love you more than life itself, but I would love you more if you read the Chronicles of Narnia. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That was a joke. From us here, this big dumb guy, myself, he says bye, and he's laying on my phone now. Okay, bye.